breaking things into different calendars and things like that. Like my wife even books me for things now. So she knows that the calendar is how I look at my day and so if she's like, hey, don't forget about this, it's like, okay, yeah, send me a calendar invite. And
Welcome to Voice Podcast, the podcast for students by students. And today we have Steve Janssens. Janssen, right?
Janssens.
Janssens.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But I still think it's very bad.
It's okay. It depends on if you're, I think in Europe they would say Janssens.
It's like Scandinavian name, right?
I think it's more like Dutch Belgian kind of. Yeah.
And you are the master of innovation around St.LawrenceCollege. Every time we approach you, you're very laid back, very open to creative ideas. But it's kind of a very secret place, right? The Innovation Hub. So tell us a bit what it is all about for new students coming on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as you say, my name is Steve Janssens. I am the manager for the Innovation Hub here. I don't know if I would go as far as to say, master of innovation. I think I've got a ways to go to become to hit that level. But yeah, the Innovation Hub is on the second floor, right across from the SA. Really, we sort of share the floor with the SA. We always say to people, kind of second floor, purple door. The truth is, we don't really want it to be a secret. I think it's a space that we want everyone to be able to access and to be able to really develop a space where people can be creative, people can explore ideas together, people can look to solve challenges and solve problems, right? So often we do get faculty and staff booking the space for class activity, or if there's a guest speaker or a partner that's involved with an activity that they want the students to really be able to integrate with, that this is the perfect space for that. Often we see students who come in and settle into study or to kind of like just use the space with a group. We definitely have like a booking system. We do want people to be able to book it in order to kind of like facilitate innovative activity. But we do most often have faculty and teachers come in and book the space for class activity, right? So what you can expect really as a student coming into the Innovation Hub is a welcoming atmosphere. It's an atmosphere we don't want people to be kind of afraid to interact with. So really there's a number of different tools like the smart boards, the whiteboards. Those are kind of like the technological aspects here, but we also have a number of tools that are really meant to help students and faculty even in self-guided or self-driven innovative activities. So we've got sort of things like our action learning toolkits, some of our brand kits. We've got brainstorm bundles. We've got things to help you along in if you're in, for example, starting a group project and you want to sort of be able to get to know the team or solve a challenge that's outside the context of what your class is. So we've got a number of escape room games. We've got sort of if you're new to the campus, we've got our Escape SLC game, which is basically a backpack that you can carry around it sort of builds a context and story for you to kind of explore the campus, but do it under sort of a challenging circumstance. So you really have to sort of come in and book it out to be able to experience it. But that's a great thing that the students here have actually built. So.
And there are a lot of innovative ways in which the Innovation Hub, like the action pack and all those tools accessible to students. So how are the students after they have come to the innovation? How do you feel there's a change after the teachers have used the class? Is there a way that you feel that, we've learned something new every time we come to the Innovation Hub? Yeah,
absolutely. I think the way that students leave the Innovation Hub is definitely, it depends on how much they've been exposed to like an innovative idea or a challenge or their surroundings or even the people that are around them. So really a lot of the time we will see people get get into the space and be a little bit nervous, a little bit closed off if there's, or uncertain really about kind of like, what are they walking into? What is the activity we're doing here? But almost every time we see students leave the Innovation Hub, they're more upbeat, they're more open to collaborate, they're more really comfortable, I think, with the surroundings and with their ability to approach a problem, right?
And it's not designed for a specific. You can be from any course or any program.
That's right.
For example, I used to be in hospitality. I wanted to become a restaurant manager, and I can come here even if I'm in hairstyling, from digital marketing to administration. It's for innovation at its core, right?
Absolutely.
It's regardless of any program you're taking.
That's right. So it's not tied to any specific program. If you are, a student who has a desire to learn how to innovate, to build soft skills, really, that's one of the goals of the space as well. Is we want to be able to foster the growth of soft skills with students that are from any program. So a lot of the infrastructure that we're looking to build, and I mean, right now it's kind of an interesting time because we're kind of going into post-pandemic. All the students are back. We're working on kind of building program that is tailored for a post-pandemic world. A lot of the programming that we've created has been developed either in the pandemic or before the pandemic. So we want to make sure that the challenges that we're solving now with the Innovation Hub and with the resources that we have are really going towards that sort of like, what is the current challenge, not the challenges that we had before the pandemic. But I think the one challenge that we have in our society that we do still need to address, it's actually probably been exacerbated a little bit by the pandemic, is the ability for a student to graduate and go into the workforce and be able to kind of jump right into a job. And so there's a lot of things that come with that. But typically when you're in a post-secondary program, you're going into a program to learn a skill, to learn a hard skill, right? So that means whether you're in the carpentry program, whether you're in the advertising program, whether you're in nursing or, game development, like whatever the program is, you're learning specifically the technologies, the skills, the languages, all of that stuff that are associated with that industry. What we want is to be able to kind of look at the other side of that spectrum of skill. So we kind of look at how can we build programming, activities, events, and tools that help with the development of soft skills in students. So when I'm talking about soft skills, I'm talking about things that apply to any industry or apply to more of the sort of personal attributes, I guess, that students have when, if you're looking at communication or collaboration or critical thinking, even the ability to reflect on your own activity and sort of make changes to your approach moving forward, adaptability and all of those things. We want to be able to give an environment where students can explore those things and just be kind of pushed out of their comfort zone in ways. But yeah, I think a lot of that is really dependent on a student's willingness to engage, right?
Sure. And now speaking of every time, like it reminds me of my first job. I was so thrilled. You want to bring new innovative ideas to industry, but soon you're struck with the reality of a fast pace of how it is, and you don't have time to have a creative meeting. For example, many organizations forget that part. Hey, let's sit for 1 hour or two and really let's forget past and present. Let's focus on what we can create as something new.
Yeah,
do you
absolutely.
think at new organizations could take example from the Innovation Hub, taking that time, implementing it once a month, of having that creative freedom expressed?
I think in reality, in a lot of industries, and once you actually get into the field and whatever you're going into, I think it's the day-to-day really kind of takes over, right? So you get into routines, you get into you get into scenarios where you kind of think like, I need to move forward and I can't look back, right? So a lot of times there's maybe you'll run a project, you're in advertising, so like maybe you're doing a social media project and you've done a campaign and maybe it didn't perform as well as you'd liked, or maybe it performed wonderfully. But I think the tendency is to kind of say, okay, let's push it further, and look forward. And I think there's a lot to be said, and there's a lot of value we gain from being proactive and looking forward. But I think that a big part of innovation is observing what has happened in the past, right? So a lot of people say like, okay, well, innovation means building something new, but building something new needs to be in context, and it needs to be focused on an outcome, but not necessarily driven fully by that outcome. You want to be able to observe and take what information you can from past activities. So I do think a lot of organizations right now focus a lot on what's to come and not what has happened. So taking the information or taking learnings in sort of a systematic way, like you said, like a once a month or once a week, like reflection session in an organization can really go a long way into understanding why something worked, or in the context of an advertising campaign, like why did the audience respond a certain way? Did they respond exactly as we expected them to? Did they not respond as we expected them to, and why? Right? I think in those types of scenarios where you're kind of like working with an audience or a user in some way, they're never quite going to react exactly the way that you expect them to, right? So I think it's important to look at how are you collecting that information, and I think a big part of innovation is setting up the infrastructure and frameworks to actually collect that information, and then being able to know what to do with that information once you get it, right?
That's true. And coming up with those ideas that you speak about innovation, and new students graduating from SLC, basically the tagline, you don't have any experience, right?
Yeah.
And how can someone, even if they're resourceful of knowledge, of creativity, how do they express it into the professional world? Can you relate to that when you took your first job? How did you express, like, hey, I'm new, I have no experience, but I believe, backed by this, how can I, when I have this amazing idea, I would love to implement this, but I fear that I will not be heard because I don't have experience. What advice would you give students?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And I think a lot of people in that situation, I think we have a tendency, especially when we first graduate, or like looking back at when I first graduated and went into, like, I took graphic design and went into the marketing industry myself. So I think one of the biggest things is to not be afraid to say out loud, like, I don't know. A lot of people, you think like, oh, I just paid for this education. I'm coming out of it. It's fresh. Like I just got this job, and my employer's going to think I'm an idiot if I say I don't know something. Right. And I think that tendency it's a little bit damaging in a way, because we're not all going to know everything. And even 10 years, 15, 20 years into working in an industry, we're at a time right now where everything evolves so fast. Right. So the second you think you know something, it changes. So really, to be able to not only voice that or say, I don't know, but also be able to believe it, or like not just say it internally and feel like you don't know, but talk to your mentors and establish a mentor, and really like be able to build the line of communication with whoever your manager is or whoever your colleagues are, to say like, yes, I'm just learning this, right? I mean, especially as a new grad, you should always kind of start the conversation with like, I'm obviously not an expert, but like, this is where I want to learn and this is where I want to develop. So, it's always good to get on the same page with whoever's hiring you at that moment. That's true. You kind of sometimes might feel like, if I say I don't know, I won't get the job. Or if I say I don't know, that could look bad on me as an employee or as someone who's working in a certain industry. But as soon as you realize and verbalize that you don't know, you have an extra incentive to know.
That's true.
Right? So you're not likely to be in that scenario, more than once. Or, sometimes it happens more than once, but you really are more in a scenario once you verbalize it that I want to find the answer to that question. Sure. Or I want to find the solution to that problem. And when it happens again, you can fall back on that experience, right? And that's how we build experience. So, So yeah, that's my view on that. I hope that answers the question.
That was an amazing response. I myself, I was submerged into your response. I say, wow, that's really, because we don't realize, like I've been applying this motto as well because I have no experience in marketing or digital marketing coming here to a new country. And I think that gives me some leverage into some safe time, to
Yes.
I say, I don't, every time I say, I don't know. And I think there's expression which says that don't be the wisest man in the room.
Right.
Otherwise, you have no business in being in that room. So.
Yeah, exactly. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
And about being in the wrong room, where have you been? Like, tell us a bit about your past. What have you done before coming to SLC, about your education?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Your past professional background.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I started out in the creative industries. So, so I know you've got some questions about creativity, and I've kind of, I've got some good responses for that. I think that I've thought of, but yeah, my background really, I kind of started in marketing. I grew up in Kingston. I came to St. Lawrence College, and started in sort of the marketing program, the business admin marketing. I did that for a year. I loved it. But I found I was really kind of drawn to the creative aspect of it. So I was very much in like those marketing programs. I was very much drawn and really strong in those aspects. After I took that marketing program, I sort of decided to transition into something more creative. And so I went into the graphic design program, where I found there was a really good marriage of concepts between the two, because a lot of marketing is really about understanding your audience, understanding how they're going to respond to something, or basically engineering a response from an audience, right? And so I took a lot of those concepts into graphic design as building the skill to be able to actually visually communicate a concept, right? So what I found fascinating about that sort of area where those two industries really connect, I mean, they're very much intertwined with each other, but yeah, I found it fascinating that you can actually communicate something without words or without saying something. So you can communicate a feeling with color, or the style of typography you use, or the branding that you put into a company, or the face that you give it. So there are a lot of associations that are psychologically built in to certain things, right? So so that was a 3-year program. I did that as part of the sort of placement requirement for that. I was super lucky. I got into almost like ground floor at an agency in Toronto to do my placement. They kind of started out as a PR and events and sort of marketing agency. It was primarily PR, and so we worked with a lot of alcohol companies, and so we had a lot of portfolios of clients where they were wines or spirits, and so as I got into that company, I was the first and only graphic designer. So I helped with a lot of pitch decks. I helped with a lot of proposals. I helped with a lot of, event materials, like large format design and things like that. And yeah, from there, really, our clients started asking us, like, social media is really kind of where marketing is going, right? Like, do you offer social media? So I think the response from the leadership of our agency at the time was like, we should be doing more social media. So that was an area where I was lucky enough to be able to help lead kind of the charge of how we communicated on social media. We had a few portfolios of clients that really, wanted to add social media into their marketing mix of PR and events. And so it really really made sense. I started there as the only graphic designer. I worked into being the creative services manager for a team of about 7. And that ranged from video production professionals to graphic designers to writers we managed a pretty good portfolio of different social media clients. So yeah, from there, I kind of, my wife and I living in Toronto, we were happy with how vibrant and fun the city was. But once we started to get down to the reality of housing prices and starting a family and all of that stuff, we decided to come back to Kingston. So that was where I actually got connected with John Conrad, who is the director of the Innovation and Business Engagement Department. And I was lucky enough to break into the workforce at St. Lawrence College as the creative director for Spark. So a lot of the a lot of the work that I've done at St. Lawrence College has been at Spark. I've been on and off, but so I did a 1-year term doing all of the management of Spark, which is our on-campus creative communications agency driven by students. And after that, I moved into a position as a project manager, where I've kind of managed a number of different grants and sort of ancillary projects that the college is engaged in. One in health innovation, where we work with a lot of health and med tech startups to help with their marketing, or to help with navigating an ecosystem, things like that. There's a number of different projects there. As well as a tech scale-up company, which again works with kind of startups in the tech industry. So that was really where I kind of bridged the gap, I think, between just plain marketing and advertising and social media and creative industry into innovation and sort of how do we innovate as a society, right? So that was where I kind of, started cutting my teeth a little bit on all of that stuff. And it's been a really great experience so far. I've carried those projects with me as I've transitioned back into the role of creative director of Spark. And I am now kind of, moving into more of the Innovation Hub manager position. Yeah, as far as, other education, I've actually just enrolled in a U of T certification on business innovation. So I'm actually starting that tonight. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. So yeah, that's been sort of my journey. I've been here at the college for 4 years, but I've had the pleasure to get to know the SA and get to know a lot of the great people that walk around the halls here.
We are very also like amazed to have you, Steve. Like, we can feel like, how this space is blooming with you, and also the students which you have also at the Innovation Hub, but also at Spark, I guess, which you said was an agency run by students.
That's right.
And also at the Innovation Hub, also we do have students who are part-time
That's
team
right.
members, right?
That's right. Yeah. And so in the summer, we hire like both Spark, Innovation Hub, and Enactus, which is more the volunteer sort of division of our sort of center of innovation here. We all hire students. Typically in the summer, there's a big draw that it's full-time work in the summer. So the Spark team, there's always a lot of competition. There's always a lot of drive for students to want to sort of get on the team and be able to sort of perform all summer and be able to work with clients all summer and build their portfolio and build their skills. So that's on the Spark side, but we do hire full-time a handful of positions at the Innovation Hub as well. And we do go into the fall offering 12-hour-a-week positions. The positions just closed, unfortunately. Yeah. So we'll have to wait for the next round of hiring in order to actually get some new applicants, or to extend the opportunity to your audience again. But I'm sure we can work out how to do that once that happens.
And so what advice would you give to students who will apply for the next round, applying to the Innovation Hub, please? Yeah,
I mean, talk to us. I think a lot of the people who apply, it always helps when we can put a face to the name, and we always, one of the biggest things and one of the biggest qualities that we put on people we'd like to hire, or students we'd like to hire, is how proactive are you and how involved are you? So the best way, really, if you're looking at what is my path to like work at Spark or get paid to work at the Innovation Hub, is to start and get involved with Enactus, because Enactus is it's low barrier. It's not a paid position, but it is project-based work that is all volunteer-based and community-driven. So really, we want to be able to engage with the community in that forum, but often the other, like the managers that work and manage those paid positions are always kind of watching Enactus and watching what projects are getting done, and who's really performing well, and who's really engaged, and who's taking advantage of the opportunity. What we really want to see is students who are not thinking of this as like, hey, I'm going to get this job to pay my bills, but I'm going to get this job because it's an opportunity and a stepping stone for me to get more skill, get more connections, get like a jump on the industry. Because really what you're doing is you're building your professional experience at the same time as you're getting your education. So a lot of students, it's you work on your education and then you start your work experience after that. Here with this opportunity, you're doing both at the same time. So that really gives a leg up in terms of what you're going to do when you graduate. You've already got your education and you've already got a good piece of experience because you are a official bona fide employee of the college. It's not kind of it's not just something that's made up. It's you will get an employee number, you get a staff account, you get like all the same stuff that I have, right? So that's a really good way to kind of build those two elements of your resume all at once.
And so speaking about innovation, I will dive more into the core. What advice would you give to students, even if they are not applying at the innovation? What innovative techniques on their own? You know, they are listening to this podcast and like, but what can I do? I have very few times on my own, but I would love to be innovative by myself, you know.
Yes.
As a solo person, what do I do?
Yeah, absolutely. Innovation's kind of tough to put a finger on in order to define, right? A lot of people
creativity.
Creativity, innovation. I mean, that's all part of it. But I think it's kind of either defining an outcome or defining a challenge or problem, right? Those are the things that it's kind of hard to kind of say, hey, I'm going to innovate without having that context, right? So I would say the best way to get started in learning how to innovate or starting to innovate as an individual is to, number one, like talk to people, build a network, like get friends who also want to innovate, so that you can communicate and share ideas. But the biggest things once you have that is really to try and identify challenges or problems that need to be solved, right? Because a lot of the technique of innovation or process of innovation, like I said, is about reflecting on a challenge, a problem, or what's been done in the past, right? So with innovation, you're either solving a problem or you're iterating on a solution to a problem that already exists, right? So either way, you need to have the ability to define something that you want to innovate around, right? So a lot of people, you know, if you look at sort of like climate change, that's a big one, right? And it's a big problem to try and solve individually. But when we come together as a community, the outcome of our actions becomes compounded, right? So I think, you know, if you haven't talked to Jaden or the Footprint team yet for an episode, I think Footprint is doing a number of really awesome things in that. But again, that kind of comes back to that first step of like meet people, you try and find like-minded people who want to solve the same problems as you, right? Because there's always strength in numbers, and like I said, those problems that seem insurmountable by yourself, like for me, like choosing the right place to put my coffee cup in the garbage, or it's great, but you kind of get the feeling like how much am I actually solving the problem by doing that, right? Or how much of an impact am I making? So really, when you get that channel of communication with like-minded people, it really gives you the ability to kind of iterate on your own behavior, but also to sort of share your ideas with a group of people and gauge reactions and gauge responses. So I think that's one of the biggest things. That's what I would say. Takeaways in that, and to short answer that question is get to know people, find a network, find a group of people that are like-minded, and define a challenge, right?
Right. And relating to that question, Steve, what would you say, like at SLC, or even the past, are the people who has influenced you, like you said, having network? So who are the people that made Steve today, you know, who influenced you to become that person?
Who influenced me? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like I've gotten a really good, like, especially through my position as a project manager here, where I've kind of managed innovation projects. A lot of the people in the community that it's people in the community that have really kind of inspired me, and I look often at our partners in the industry, in sort of like the innovation industry, or in our innovation ecosystem, and really those are the people that I've been able to kind of, that was the first part of my journey in this, was finding a group of like-minded people and finding people that I can solve challenges with, right? So I would say there's a number of people at the Launch Lab organization here in Kingston, and they actually have a number of different regional innovation centers across Ontario, but they're a wonderful resource and a wonderful organization to get involved with. They work with a lot of local startups to help with mentoring and things like that. There are key members at that organization that have really been a mentor for me. As well as, I look at my director, obviously, John Conrad is one that's been, super instrumental in me establishing a mentor relationship with him when I first came into the college. And that's why I give that advice of establish a mentor as soon as you graduate. Because number one, people appreciate being seen as a mentor and being someone that you can rely on in order to get information from and really just be able to have candid conversation with. But John's definitely been one of those ones that, as I, for me personally, being able to transition a career, because you might feel like once you graduate you've kind of invested in your education and that's what you've got to do for the rest of your life, but I've kind of been in the marketing industry for 10 years and decided that I want to make a change. So he's been someone that's really helped guide me in that. So yeah, he's been a big influence in watching how he manages such a large organization or department and how to utilize all those resources in innovative activity. It has been a real huge inspiration for me. But yeah, I mean, there's probably too many to actually list. But I mean, like Queen's and their innovation center, we've got a great relationship with them, and all of the activity that they do. The Dunin-Deshpande Queen's Innovation Center, they do a ton of different work through Quixie, Build to Scale. They do a lot of different programs that help people who have an entrepreneurial attitude or entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurship bug. And they really help them with understanding some of these innovative techniques, like how do you define a challenge? How do you make sure that your product fits your audience and fits the need and they'll actually use it? And so they explore all of those areas. And I've pulled a great amount of inspiration from what they do. Yeah, I mean, I could go on.
That's so many, because in my mind, I have so many questions going. I have 8 follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Oh my God, where are we going with this right now?
Yeah.
But it's truly fascinating. Again, speaking of John, it's the second mention in 2 episodes. So
yeah,
he's leading the shout-out along with Kathy Patterson in terms of shout-outs.
Oh, of course.
So we're doing a ranking in terms of who gets the most shout-outs at the end of it. Then we can host them in the future, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I know John would be all for that.
And also, speaking about Queens also, so how does it work? Do we get access as SLC student? So is there a huge barrier, or is it free will between SLC and Queens in terms of innovations and the launch lab as well? So can SLC students go there? Yeah,
absolutely. I think this is kind of one of the things that, again, one of the projects that I've worked on as my time as sort of solely the project manager, and some of the projects that I still manage now, but is ecosystem navigation, right? That's something, when you think about what an ecosystem is, it's really organizations and people in a similar location. How do they interact with each other? How do they help each other? How do we thrive as one ecosystem? So our entrepreneurial ecosystem or startup ecosystem, it's actually it's quite strong here in Kingston. So what the biggest and best way to understand is, again, to sort of reach out and talk to these organizations, but to kind of go back to your first question there, I mean, like with Queens and sort of how we interact and how students can interact, the DDQIC, which is again, the Dunin-Deshpande Queens Innovation Center, a lot of their programming and a lot of the stuff that they do is around entrepreneurship. So they have different programs that are like their Quick Seed program and their Q-Year Venture program are both ones that you don't need to be a Queen's student. You don't need to be enrolled in a Queen's program, but you can check out their website. An entrepreneurial idea or a venture that you'd like to explore, there's a number of different resources that they have that you can actually engage with as a St. Lawrence College student. And that's something that it's a bridge we're trying to build that we want people to be more aware of, because I think as an institution, Queen's might be intimidating to approach as a St. Lawrence College student, right? But again, if you've got the idea, if you've got again the attitude, and what they really look for is someone who is willing to put the work in, right? Sure. So they'll mentor you on how to fully form an idea, how to make a pitch, how to sort of get that in front of the right people so that you can start to engage with getting a good leadership group and investment where necessary, right? Investment's a tough thing to get from idea to investment. So there's a lot of working parts in there and a lot of moving parts. So, but yeah, that's a great way to get involved. Looking at some of the other like ecosystem partners, really the challenge is understanding as like a business owner or a student who's got like an entrepreneurial mindset and wants to start something, is that different programs are really meant for businesses at different stages. So there might be some programs like Queen's has all sorts of support. They've got their Queen's Partnerships and Innovation team, which is really focused a little bit more on later stage businesses, right? So if you're a student and you go there, they might say, well, you need a little bit more time. You need to form your idea a little bit more. But what we try and do is we really try and build a pipeline of, if our ecosystem knows that we've got incredible resource in the students that are here. So there's a lot of effort and a lot of focus that goes into how do we form students who think they want to start a business that might impact our region economically, to be able to understand that, these are the stages of business development. And if you're in this stage, these are the proper resources for you. So, I mean, this is a great resource for, the Innovation Hub is an awesome resource for students who, have that entrepreneurial bug. We're looking to develop a lot more programming around kind of like, how do you develop a pitch? How do you develop a business? But really right now the rock stars in that are kind of like the Queen's Innovation Center and all of that stuff. So
but I'm sure like we're coming up with great ideas and great vision.
Of course.
And what would you love to implement as ideas, and what's your vision for the future of the Innovation Hub?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really great sort of topics and ideas that we've started to uncover with what we've done since the Innovation Hub's been created. So the concept of student enterprise and what that means. So Spark technically would be classified as a student enterprise because it is a business that is largely run by students. So we would classify it as an institutional student enterprise because it is supported by the institution. There are, full-time professionals that run it, that are employed by the college to run it. So it very much has that support from the college. So what we want to do, one of the big things that we want to do is develop more programs or more Sparks for different areas. So right now Spark is really focused in on marketing and communications, but could we make a student enterprise that's a game development house? We've got our game development programs here. Could we make a student enterprise that acts as a record label with the music and digital media program? Like, we've also got a number of academic student enterprises that focus really on delivering an experiential component to a program. So you look at agency, that's a big one, right? Where it's everyone in the program has access to it. They will go through that, but it's connecting the community in a way that's sort of, not necessarily undirected, but where we can't fully predict where the project's going to go or what the outcome will be. So I think that's one thing that in the academic side of things, it's very much when you're in a class, there's a course outline, there's a curriculum, there's, it's very structured in terms of what the activity will be. And the value that we get really from a student enterprise like Spark is the fact that we're making an impact on the community. And when clients come to us for projects, we're not telling them, okay, this is the curriculum, this is what we have to do to meet the requirements of the program. There's no requirements to the program other than that the client is satisfied. So that means that the students who are working on that project are going to face unique challenges. And even if we give them 2 clients with the same project, those projects are going to be completely different in the end. So it really builds the skill that is required in them to be able to adapt and to be able to roll with the punches really when it comes to working with clients. So there's an extreme value in that, I think, from like an action learning or an experiential learning standpoint. So that's one of the things I'd really like to see us put more focus on in developing that. And again, like, it's something that the college has done for a long time. Like, student enterprise isn't new at the college. Spark's only been around for 7 years, but we've got examples of student enterprise that date back like 30 years. So like, there's like, we've got Essence, which is really the experiential component of the culinary and hospitality programs. We've got Scruffy Dog Salon, we've got Dynamic Designs. Like, there's a lot where it's really like, what's the area where a student actually gets to interact with the community in a way that's a little bit more high stakes than just like, for Dynamic Designs, like working on a wig or a mannequin, right? Yeah. Exactly. So it really kind of brings that simulation to the next level without kind of just saying, okay, like, we've told you how to do it, now just like go out into the workforce, right?
And we used to have this back home in my previous college. We are very much a hotel and tourism island, so we would have very in real time workshop. We're learning as we practice. And so what would you like from the students or even the academic program coordinators? Would you like them to come to you to discuss to how to make it happen? Or what's the step next to make those new projects reality? Yeah,
absolutely. I think the best thing is to come talk to us if you have an idea. We are working on the mechanisms. Again, this is we're at a period right now where we're kind of coming out of the pandemic, and we've got a really good opportunity at the moment to kind of take a look back and reassess and plan for the future. That will be kind of our job over the fall and over the next semester. But we've got a lot of really great ideas right now, and we're kind of working on connecting with all of the proper kind of faculty and staff in order to make sure that there's, number one, an appetite for these types of programs, as well as like, that the resource is there, and that this is it's a way that the Innovation Hub could be utilized. But for students, I think the best way is to follow us on Instagram. Yeah. Follow us on social media, because we'll always be putting out calls for interaction and publishing opportunities for students to come in and get involved in workshops or different programs that we're developing in the future.
And in terms of project, if it all depended just on you without any restriction, or in an ideal world, what would be the creative or crazy idea that you would implement tomorrow at SLC, today even?
Yeah. I don't know. This is one of those magic wand questions, right? Where it's
in an ideal world.
In an ideal world, like, I think if the technology was there, and if we all believed in magic, I would love to have the ability to kind of have a portal or a teleportation device between our 3 campuses, because right now the distance and we've got 3 really great pockets of communities that have their own unique values and unique people and experiences and things like that. And I feel like sometimes I've had the opportunity to travel to all 3 campuses and experience them. And I feel like the students that are kind of parked at one campus kind of don't get to experience what happens at the others. And so I would love if there was a way to do it, to kind of have a, walk through the cafeteria in one in one campus and automatically be on the other, so that we can tie those communities together a little bit more. But yeah, I think there's ways to go. We're always working on how we can develop more programming that ties in all of the campuses, and can, we hire students at Spark or the Innovation Hub from other campuses to help input to program development and things like that.
I'm someone who is more like, how I spark my creativity myself is from music. I don't know, like I have this thing where every time I'm free or at the gym or I'm thinking of music should be rolling. Do you have any playlist or any tracks which you love at the moment that spark your creativity?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a tough one too, because it's kind of context based, right? I think for me, whether I'm, like you said, whether I'm working out or sitting down to write a paper or something like that, like it's very different, right? So I don't know, when I go to the gym, I love to listen to ska. It's very upbeat. It's very much sort of like that reggae punk mix, right? So there's usually a lot of pace in it. It's very intense and positive, right? So I love positivity. That's one of my big things in music, especially. But my thing with work is when I sit down and work, I can't listen to someone talk or sing or say words when I'm trying to write something. I always just end up writing what they say. So I've tried to listen to podcasts while I work. I've tried to listen to, to music that has vocal tracks and stuff, and I just can't do it. It just throws me off. So I do find myself often listening to instrumental pieces, and I grew up playing guitar, so I almost love just listening to classical guitar and stuff like that. So it really helps to kind of focus me in and kind of, cut me off from some of the other distractions and things like that.
And I think like one place which would, it's on YouTube, like it's, I love Spanish mixed guitar.
Yes.
Like Andalusia or like Middle Eastern mixed with, Spanish. Those are really good. Like if you're a guitar guy, you will surely love those mixes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But, music tend to be distracting when it's very fast paced for me, or when there are lyrics in it. So it's more like instrumental, but very chill out, tropical house, more of that style.
Yeah, exactly. Just give your brain a bass line to rest on, and
It depends also. Sometimes one of time where I'm sparked by innovation is at 4 a.m.
Yes.
I wake up at 4 a.m. and there's no sound at all. In the world is completely silent, and I just find this an amazing time to be creative.
Yeah.
Like people say you are more creative at night, but I find myself more creative around that time, 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. And then when I start hearing sounds of cars and everything, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
No, I'm dragged.
Well, one of the biggest habits that I've kind of formed over the years after working here and things like that is because I agree, I'm the same way. It's either in the shower or at 4 a.m. when an idea hits you. Or you feel like you do your best thinking at some of those times when it's like your computer isn't accessible or something like that. So for me, one of the things that I've really kind of one of the habits that I've formed is I've actually created my reminders on my phone. I've changed that to my to-do list. So anytime, like, I can say, I won't say it because I don't want everybody's phone who's listening to start going off, but I can activate my voice my voice assistant on my phone and say, remind me to do this, or remind me about this idea. And so then it automatically puts it into my to-do list. So anytime I'm back at my computer, what I do is I take my to-do list, which is my reminders app, and I basically start plotting those things on my calendar. So I translate my to-do list into blocks of time. So a lot of time it becomes really easy to get overbooked. And, especially if you're someone who's involved with a lot of things, or you've got people who have access to your calendar who just book you for something, that it's I've always found it's really helpful to actually have your tasks plotted on your calendar when you're going to work on something. So So yeah, use your calendar.
Like it's something which I recently implemented this semester, because last semester it was all chaotic. Just focusing on assignments, no time for work. I didn't work, so, and also I neglected the gym for 2 months. So now I say no. Like, it's, if I want to be part of an industry which I love, I need to have my core always be healthy. You know, you should always be healthy, because without health you can't do pretty much anything if you want to.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also having some free time as well, and to work also, because most of my working part-time at the school, because they pretty much understand that your education is your priority and works come second, but still have that drive, you know, to balance everything and to be,
of course,
just give you that pace to get ready. So that's mostly on my side. That's my challenge, and I draw on a timetable, and it looks like there are some free times, always leave some gray areas, and like I color code it as well. If students want some advice, you can color code your calendar. It helps me. And it really helped. The first week I was still all over the place, but I'm entering the second week and I already wake up, oh, I see the color code, the blue, what does that mean? Yeah. So it starts becoming natural once you get into that routine.
I think one of the things that's great about that, and you know, depending on what kind of calendar app you use or you know, what have you, that you can create subsequent calendar, like you can create new calendars that you can turn on and off, right? So for me right now, I have one for personal, I have one for Spark, one for Innovation Hub, one for if there's class schedules that I have, I put them in. If you know, and then I've got one calendar that's just called tasks, and another calendar that's called completed tasks. So once I actually plot a task on the calendar and I finish it, I change it from tasks to completed. So then it changes color. I know in my mind that that's done and I don't need to worry about it. But if it's not done and the time has passed, I need to drag that forward and put it somewhere else, right?
It's kind of habit, right? You need to give it time to really, because a lot of people, you know, even my friends, even me, like one big mistake which we all do, we don't give time for things to happen, to let it. The habit takes time. You will get hit along the way, and just
exactly.
And how long have you been implementing this kind of strategy of a calendar in your life?
Well, I've always used a calendar. Like that's always been, you know, what I've done. But using it this way, I've probably, you know, it's a process for me that's evolved probably over the last 2 years or so that I've done it. When, you know, getting additional responsibilities or additional like aspects of your life that you need to now kind of like focus on. That's when I started actually like breaking things into different calendars and things like that. Like my wife even books me for things now. So she knows that the calendar is how I look at my day and how so if she's like, hey, don't forget about this, it's like, okay, send me a calendar invite. And so that's how I know. That's how I know it's we're going to a friend's house or we're hosting somebody for dinner or something. There's a calendar invite for it.
At least, you know, like I'm such a forgetful person. Like my friends will always say, Sean, you don't remember? Yeah, I don't remember. And that's why I need a calendar. I told them, you know, I have some free time. Book me in that time. And you're crazy. I say I will charge you now because I have very much less free time, so I'm paying her. But so coming back into your personal life, like a bit more, where can we find you during your free time? What are you mostly doing when you're out of work? Because you seem like to be very included into your work as well. But how do you balance it with your personal life as well? Apart from having a calendar. For me, like I've got 2 kids, a 4-year-old and a 7-month-old. So a lot of, you know, if I'm not at work, it's doing something with them or sort of working on you know, sports or activities to help them. In my personal time, other than that, what I get of it is really I love to play guitar. I love to you know, even just sit by myself and play for a little bit. That's something that the kids are getting a little bit more into, so I'm able to sort of show them how to do it a little bit more and what it looks like and all of that stuff, so that's really fun. But I love to get out and sort of like experience community events and things like that when we can, and expose them to those types of things. So over the summer there was all sorts of stuff we did and you know, restaurants and all that stuff. Other than that, there's you know, I've got a really good group of friends that you know, we do bonfires every once in a while, and so
So yeah, those are, it's, again, it kind of comes back to, that's my group of like-minded people that, you know,
Sure.
they're also members of the community who want to solve similar challenges, and we kind of think about things the same way. So it's really great to kind of get outside of that work environment, but still be in a context where you've got people who are kind of doing some similar things. And so I find a lot happens when you take conversations out of their formal context and put them into a context like that, like a bonfire, or, you know, a drink at a bar, or going to see someone play live music or something like that. So, yeah, that's, I mean, I like to watch Formula One.
I love
Formula
One.
the innovation aspect in that, and, just
Verstappen
the
or
technological.
Hamilton?
What's that?
Verstappen or Hamilton?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've always been. It's funny because I've always been into kind of like sports and stuff like that. But I find as soon as I start cheering for somebody, they lose. So I'm not a big kind of like camp kind of person. I'm Dutch, so I like Verstappen. But I think this year he's kind of running away with it. So
definitely.
He's definitely won this year.
He's winning the title next race in Singapore.
Yeah, exactly.
And Formula One is one of my jam also.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, I just love the challenge that those teams have, and how much resource and effort, and, the ability to kind of, adapt. And especially this year, they've kind of gone to a completely new car spec.
Yeah.
And so watching the teams evolve and deal with those issues and things like that, and how they've done it, and different solutions that they've brought, that always to me ties back to having like a really strong tie to innovation, and just like the competition format of it as well. I really like, because I think a lot happens in a competition format when people are competing for something.
There's
right?
things at stake.
There's a lot of motivation, and so I think that's an aspect I would love to bring into the Innovation Hub, in terms of can we bring in something like an innovation league or something like that, where we can put up some stakes and exactly, have people compete. But that's something that Enactus is sort of rooted in. Enactus is part of a global not-for-profit that has chapters at post-secondary institutions all over the world. And really what they do is they engage students in order to build projects that can prove a community impact. So yeah, getting involved with that, like this month, actually at the end of the month, we're going to Toronto to participate in their national exposition, where the top teams in Canada are competing for the ability to go and compete on a global stage. So it's very cool. It's very much like, if you wanted to compete and you want to do something that is, something that gets you involved with the community, allows you to innovate, allows you to kind of like get to know people, but then also like, hey, we're competing for something, we're setting our target on winning, and being able to get to go to Toronto or Vancouver, or I can't remember where the global one is, also. But yeah.
That's it's an extra drive, because everyone, when something is scarce, there's only one winner, everybody wants it.
Exactly.
And the full attention, the full prestige that go with it as well. Also with yourself, outclassing who you were 1 year ago, or what you were doing. It's just
absolutely
like a competition, and seeing people who you're competing with also inspires you. Because sometimes you might think, oh, but I'm the only one who's doing it. But then you see people who are like-minded and say, oh, wow, you're truly surrounded by people who are sometimes much better, and you need to do better. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You should always be surrounding yourself with people who you consider to be better than you in whatever context. We should always try and be better. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The underdog shoes, always.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to be the number one player, but yeah. It depends how. There are two different scenarios to manage as a competitor, because, of course. There are some past references which I'm remembering. And so, speaking of back to students, would you say, have you seen a student which has come and either worked or be here at the Innovation Hub, and how they grew as a work experience? Just coming back a bit to that question.
I don't know. I think isolating one student that that has done that, I think would be a bit of a disservice or injustice, because I think a lot of the, like, almost every student that I've worked with here, if they've made it through the year and they're still with us, there's always been a significant level of improvement in their ability to be comfortable in any situation, or to be able to say, like, because I think a lot of what happens, especially, and I'm kind of pulling a little bit more from my experience with Spark and managing that and the students who've gone through that program, or that have been involved in that experience, that you really, a lot of the students, again, when they join us, they're very much like the first bump in the road. They're like, oh my God, what do I do? This is disaster. And like, I don't know how to navigate this. What do I do? And by the end, they're like, oh, like there's bumps in the road all over the place. And they're like, okay, we'll keep calm. Like,
with the right tires.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's very much like the ability for, you know, the students who've performed the best are always the students who understand that it's not going to go right all the time. It's actually very rarely going to go exactly as you plan it. So really, to have the ability to step back and say, okay, this is okay, we can work with this, is really what kind of sets a lot of people apart, right? We've also had people in Spark that have said, this is not for me. Like, this is too intense. This is too much pressure, too much responsibility. I just want to, you know, serve coffee or wait tables or whatever, just to have a job that I can turn my brain off and go to, which is completely respectable when you're in an intense program as well. I was in those shoes as well. Yeah. So again, it's not for everybody, but the students who really do well and the students who kind of get the experience and the connections after are the ones who aren't quiet. They're the ones who come in and sort of every day say, like, hey, I'm either done what I need to do, give me something else, or what else can I help with, or where else can I be involved? And, you know, the students who kind of say, like, it's okay if this isn't perfect, right? It's
also like they give themselves that risk factor. Hey, I'm going to make mistakes along the road. Yeah. And it's all right, but I'm going to minimize it the second time.
Yes, and exactly. I'm going to learn from it. Yeah.
Learn from it. You know, like, this is fun. You're allowed to make mistakes, but also when you make mistakes, learn from that mistake. You know?
That's right.
Just the second try is also going to happen. It's always happened. Nothing's perfect, like I said.
Exactly. And nothing happens the same way twice either, right?
Never. Life would be boring. The same things twice. Speaking about life, we're more about, we covered a lot about the Innovation Hub, and I got amazing insights, which I didn't know. I've been here for 5 months, and this is what this podcast is all about, also shedding the light on such an amazing concept which has been implemented at SLC, having the Innovation Hub, and to check it out on the second floor, you know. And it's very accessible. Like, from the SA, you take the Muse Lounge, you come here, or also...
That's right.
From the left, you just come, and also on social media, which is, you can reach out more easily.
Absolutely.
As well, which is...
so it's Innovation Hub SLC on Instagram, and there's a link tree to our other channels. So we're also on Twitter, LinkedIn. I think we're shutting down Facebook. I don't know. From an advertising perspective, you could probably talk about that for a while, but I don't know if we're going to continue with Facebook. But
I'm trying. Maybe the podcast also we shut down on Facebook.
Yeah,
because it's amazing, because in Mauritius Island, people spend 3 hours per day. Everyone, regardless of demographic, in my country, Facebook is a thing. People spend that. But when I came to Canada, nobody uses Facebook.
Yeah,
I was like, this is so amazing. Like, it's a different country, but it's part of the marketing aspect of it. You know, like, how people use Facebook so much in my country. But when I looked on all the pages, because I used to follow my favorite businesses, my favorite mentors, like you say, also, they're all on Facebook. But Instagram is also followed, but not that much. But now in Canada, it's Instagram, basically. That's the main, by far.
Yeah.
Very much by far.
Yeah.
And I believe it's the best place to connect with people.
Exactly. And that's where we want to be where the students are engaging. So
that's true. You need to be where they are right now.
But yeah, the best way, again, is really to kind of like walk through the door, come check it out. Even if you're not coming and sitting and staying for a while, like if you want to do a walkthrough, it's either, Davies Hall, the staircase that goes up Davies Hall comes right into the Innovation Hub, as well as the door in the hallway that's sort of down the hall from from the SA main entrance as well.
Sure. And now we have five those quick fire questions which you need to answer.
Okay.
What's the movie which you will force me to watch?
A movie that I would force you to watch?
Me to watch. Yeah, it's your favorite movie. It might not be everyone's favorite movie, but you will force me to watch because you love it.
Snatch.
Snatch. What is it all about?
That it's a Guy Ritchie film about a diamond. It's a diamond heist type movie. But it's just the best formulation of a movie for me. It's got action. I laugh. It's funny. It's witty. It's one of my favorite movies.
Add it to the list.
Yeah.
We'll do that. And what is again speaking about innovation for you more personally? What's one thing that would absolutely help your routine that you can invent after you leave this podcast? Or this would help me every day. Yeah.
Sorry, advice that I could give?
No, an invention again, like in your personal life. Oh, that would help me every day if this existed on Earth.
Oh, good question. I don't know. Yeah, I want to say like go back to that teleportation idea. If we could just be anywhere at any time, I would love that.
Multiply yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Reprogram yourself. Hey, you're going to say this.
Yeah.
Just go there. And your favorite moment at SLC?
Favorite moment at SLC? It's a good one. I don't know. Right now.
Right now.
Yeah. Ask me tomorrow. It'll be right now.
Every day at SLC.
Yeah.
Every day you just got to make the best of it.
Yeah, that's right.
And one dish that you could eat till the end of your life.
Pass. I'm not answering that one. I don't know. I couldn't choose one food forever.
Food lover? Any specific type of cuisine?
I don't know. I love steak. I love lasagna. I don't know. I just love to eat. I couldn't imagine just being able to eat one thing. Bananas. I'll say if you need me to answer the question, I'll say bananas.
All right. Yeah. That's the first one. That's the first one we're having. And one pet peeve which you have that if people meet you, they should absolutely not do.
Yeah. I think a pet peeve is when people are not observant. I think if someone lacks the ability to observe, I think that's a pet peeve.
It's irritating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, don't ask for questions again.
Yeah.
Observe right at the first time. And so, what is one amazing fact about you?
One amazing fact about me. I've met Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck?
Yes.
Okay, now tell us the story.
So in the agency that I used to work, I've actually met quite a few celebrities, but in the agency I used to work at, one of our clients was Audi and the other was Warner Brothers. So whenever TIFF came to town, we were the event partner for Warner Brothers and Audi sponsored, so it was very much there was a lot of movies that we got to work with. So yeah, Ben Affleck. I think the movie he was working on at the time was Argo. So at that event, I was working the event and I sort of had to show him around and and so I got to say hello, got to meet him. How
was the interaction with him?
It was good. He was very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those scenarios where I could imagine it being very overwhelming for them. I'm sure they're used to it. I'm sure people who are in the spotlight all the time are used to that. But yeah, it's an environment where kind of everybody wants to talk to you all the time, right? So it was a very short interaction, but.
It's amazing.
But it stuck with me. I had to show him where the bathroom was, so.
Yeah, like I when I used to work in the hotel previously, I am a huge fan of wrestling, so
okay.
I met like the Undertaker, and for me, and I was working at the front desk, and I went into the back office, and I ran 50 times.
Yeah.
I met the Undertaker. That's a life achievement, you know. I'm someone who's very expressive of myself.
Yeah.
I do stuff, but hey, meeting Ben Affleck, that's something.
Yeah, that was that one. I think John Goodman and Bryan Cranston. Who else? John Krasinski was also at that one too. So it was kind of a fun one to be at. But we did that I was there for about 4 years where we did that. So all sorts of, like, you name it, probably have been in a room with.
And last one is always, I believe, should be more about yourself. What is one person that you will give a shout out to?
One person that I'll give a shout out to, Gerhard, on our team, on the Spark team, is someone that I think if you haven't talked to yet, you should. He's someone that he deals with an incredible amount. He's got 4 kids. He manages a day-to-day. He just did the BBA program. Just a fascinating person. And yeah, so he's a project manager on the Spark team. So he'd be a great host, or a great guest, pardon me, to talk about what Spark does and how to engage with Spark. So I'll give the shout out to Gerhard and say, you're next.
Yeah. 1 point for Gerhard.
Yeah.
Give a shout out ranking.
Yeah.
And thank you again so much, Steve.
Absolutely.
It was like a blast having you.
Absolutely.
A blast of creativity and innovation. And knowing also more what you do as a person as well, and what are the amazing ideas and how it all revolves around student as well, you know.
Yep.
And thank you so much for watching this second episode of a Voice Podcast. You can reach us on Instagram, which is SA_SLC for the Student Association, and SA Voice Podcasts also both on Instagram. And have, again, an amazing week at St. Lawrence College. And also do check the Innovation Hub. Come and join them. And don't forget, again, to DM them on Instagram. Like them, engage, follow, comment. It's all, everything can spark creativity and innovation. And I'm sure Steve will most gladly welcome you to explore the amazing world of the Innovation Hub. Thank you so much. See you soon next week on Tuesday, as always.
Bye, everyone.